I'm James Epler. In our continuing coverage of the municipal elections for City Council, we are hearing from the candidates over the coming week. And we're starting with David Bruegel, who is a candidate for District 3. Sir, thank you so much for your time today.
Hey, James. Glad to be here.
So you've been kicking around the political scene in Lubbock for some years now, but for those who may not know you, how would you like to introduce yourself to voters?
Sure. So I've been involved in the Lubbock County Republican Party as its chairman and vice chairman for the last several years. I've been engaged there and had a front row seat to most of the public policy discussions that have been happening here. So it's been a great joy. Of course, I'm running for District 3 to represent everyone, regardless of their party affiliation. And so most of the issues we're going to be talking about are going to be basic fundamental issues, James. So we're talking about roads, we're talking about water, we're talking about public safety, right? And those issues don't bear a partisan label. But my experience being engaged at the Republican Party is going to be very helpful with being engaged on the issues.
So let's delve into that a little bit more. District 3 really covers a good swath of central Lubbock. Of those issues you mentioned, are there any that you feel are really important specifically to District 3, specific needs?
Sure. So District 3 runs from the Tech campus all the way down to the South Loop. It's a broad swath of Lubbock, really. Back not that many years ago, it would have been, goodness, over a third of the city. But now with the city growing, Central Lubbock's got a different set of issues. If I was running for this seat back in the 1960s, we would be talking about new road construction, adequate water supply, things of that nature. Well, now we're talking about maintaining those roads. We need to make sure that over time we're making plans to do the same thing that was done on 34th Street on our other streets as they're needed.
You mentioned the needs have changed over time. I can remember my dad and grandpa saying, oh, 82nd, that used to be cotton fields. You know, guys like you and I grew up hearing that stuff. Now the complaints are in your district from some people that, hey, maybe too much attention is focused on growth, especially toward the south and southwest. What would you say to folks in that district?
Yeah, and so I've got two points on that, James. Number one is Lubbock is one city. What's good for downtown is good for 141st Street. What's good for 50th Street is good for 82nd Street. We're all friends and neighbors here, right? I think just in the course of my daily work, I may be on 4th Street or 98th Street at any given time. However, District 3 needs an advocate who will make sure that our resources have what they need. We want to make sure our neighborhoods are well preserved, our streets are well preserved. It really is that. It's a maintenance game. We want to make sure District 3's resources are in place to make sure we're strong for the future.
One of your main platforms is public safety, and as a former volunteer firefighter, you really have some skin in the game here. Mayor McBrayer, who is up for re-election, talked to Case Wilbanks and said, we need more police officers in Lubbock, and he did not rule out the possibility of potentially needing to raise taxes to do that. Is something that you would be willing to go along with?
Sure, more police officers, 100%. We really do need them to make sure that we address all the petty crime issues, even things like street racing that goes on 50th Street sometimes. I live on 54th Street and I get to hear it frequently on the weekends. Things like this can only be addressed by enhancing our patrol division. My objective is to do that without raising our property taxes. It's all a matter of priorities, but we'll do our best and do what we can.
So are you willing to rule out a potential tax increase specifically for police?
Sure, if we were to do it, that would be what we would be to do it for, but that's going to be my last resort. I lived up the road at Shallowater for 5 years, and I served on the city council during that time there. It's a much smaller community. We would also run into similar situations. There, we did actually have to add an officer one year. We had to raise our officers' pay to continue to be competitive and take care of our guys there. But what I would do, the city staff would bring me a budget. They would say, all right, this is the year we have to raise the taxes. And I would say, all right, show me what our budget looks like without raising those taxes. More often than not, they were able to bring me a budget that was a more fiscally conservative budget where we wouldn't have to raise those taxes and we could still fund the basic needs. So that'll be the objective. We'll do what we must to keep Lubbock a safe city, but I'm going to fight for people's financial side as well.
You've been, of course, watching what City Council has done over the last couple of years. We have seen property taxes go. Have you seen something this council has done that you disagree with and you would have handled differently?
Sure. So I'm pleased with a number of things we've done. On a couple of the road bonds, I had the opportunity to serve on the road bond committee. I would have scaled a couple of those back a little bit. I would have focused a little more money inside the loop, and there are some projects we may have waited a few more years on. It's all a matter of deciding when do we spend the money. With some things, it's not if, but when. But we have to make sure those timelines align properly with the resources we have.
What are you looking forward to learning? Of course, when you join a job, you're taking a job potentially if you're elected.
Yes.
Every job has a learning curve. What would you be looking forward to learning as part of this city government?
Yeah, one of the things I'm very excited to learn about, a lot of politicians will say, I know everything, I don't have anything to learn. Here, my mind is a sponge, James. I'm excited to soak up information. One thing that really fascinates me about Lubbock is our enterprise funds. So our government is funded primarily out of the general fund. That's where public safety comes from. That's where street maintenance comes from. But we have other funds in our budget, like our airport fund, our utility fund, and our water fund. And I'm excited to see how we can use those resources to help grow Lubbock.
You mentioned your connections to Austin, serving as the chair of the Lubbock County Republican Party. How do you think your connections in Austin could benefit our relationship with the lawmakers there as a city leader?
Yeah, of course. So we won't necessarily need to go through third parties to speak to our legislators. I can pick up the phone. I have a great working relationship with all three of our state legislators here in Lubbock. All three have endorsed me in this race, and looking forward to working with them to get some things done for Lubbock. Most recently, we saw that our relationship with the legislature helped us to gain funds for the downtown redevelopment project. Super excited to see that and excited to see what's to come.
Let's talk about development. We've heard a lot about data centers and those being a thing. Recently, there was a proposal to build one in Lubbock that's since been withdrawn because planning and zoning was not on board with that. What's your position about data centers?
I've got some big concerns with data centers, James. Concern number one is that we could end up wasting a lot of water. That's my biggest concern. Any project we look at, we want to make sure that they're recycling that water for future use. There are a number of other concerns such as noise, infrastructure build out without having a data center customer in place. I've talked about that elsewhere in this campaign as well, where we see speculative development where an investor will start to build a data center and they're not able to fulfill their contract. There are numerous layers of due diligence. We can't just let these data centers come without a great deal of thought and attention.
A lot of issues to discuss in this campaign. David Bruegel is a candidate for District 3 with 2 opponents. We'll be hearing from them as well. Meantime, early voting starts on April 20th, Election Day, May 2nd. Sir, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for hosting me.